My channel has been nothing but Rise content lately. Maybe I should change the topic. Or maybe we should do one more Rise video. Haha, your girl is back and she is still talking about Rise. I really want the show to continue, okay? Leave me alone. So, what we're doing today is we're gonna design my Risesona. Or I'm gonna design her and you're gonna sit back and watch. So sit back and enjoy the struggle cause oh boy was this difficult for me. I had a few rules in place for the final persona. 1. No OP Mary Sue characteristics. I like my personas grounded. 2. The final ref sheet must be in the Rise art style. 3. Her backstory cannot heavily interfere with the main plot. So with those limits in place, let's jump right in. Phase 1. Conceptualization. Was she going to be a human or a yokai? If she was a yokai, what kind would she be? What's her backstory? What are her abilities? In the end, I chose being a yokai because they're cooler. But I had one teeny tiny other problem. Should I be consistent but basic and make her a cat, or should I branch out and make her reptilian instead? I pondered over that question for a long time. I asked my family for their opinions. I asked my friends. I couldn't ask you guys because spoilers! And I finally decided that variety is the spice of life and I should go with a lizard motif because I already have 4 other personas and they're all cat themed. Now for phase 2. Thumbnailing. I started thumbnailing her outfit in digital and tried to come up with ideas. I am not the best with costume design, so I headed to Pinterest for help and looky here. It's perfect. So with a rough idea for her outfit in mind, I started sketching her face. I traced over some screenshots to get a feel for the art style. That's a tip for copying art styles. And then started on the rough head shape. I am very inexperienced with drawing reptilian characters. I've only ever drawn one and her design is really stereotypical. So I struggled to come up with ideas for my persona. I knew I wanted her to be a lizard and I wanted to follow the rules Rice had set out for yokai because I wanted her design to fit seamlessly into the show. One of those rules for yokai is if they're reptilian, they typically don't have hair. There is some leeway and I probably could have gotten away with giving her hair, but how am I gonna get better with art if I don't challenge myself? So I pushed on and struggled with her design. I tried looking up references of cool lizards, but I couldn't find anything that clicked, so I continued struggling. And then, finally, I landed on this. It seemed reptilian enough, so I kept it. My sister complained that I looked too much like old Mikey, but heck, I have no other options. She had no ideas, I'm keeping the horns. I then fleshed out things a bit more in my sketchbook, and we were good to go. Time for phase 3, finalizing the design. So the design was already tied down in my head at this point, I just needed to get the idea down onto digital. This is where the real problems began. So you know that rule I said earlier? 2. The final ref sheet must be in the Rise art style. Hi, so my microphone decided that it was an appropriate time to perish and stop working, so from this point onward, I'm gonna be recording out of my iPad directly. So that's why the audio is a bit crappy, I'm sorry. So you know that rule I said earlier? 2. The final ref sheet must be in the Rise art style. Yeah, well, that's biting me in the butt right now because I could not replicate the style no matter how hard I tried. I traced over screenshots again and again to try and force my hand into drawing like the show. I looked for reference after reference. I redrew her pose 4 times. I wasn't happy with it for days. I spent 11 hours on this canvas. 11 hours, and that's only keeping track of the amount of times the stylus was actually touching the screen. Yeah, if you guys think that art is easy, or at least that I make art easily, you are very wrong. Drawing is an activity full of pain and suffering. So while the speed paint plays and my past self goes through Tartarus and back, I'll tell you all some lore about my persona. Her name is Klepto Aladrona and she's a pickpocket. Yes, I am very uncreative, but literally Hueso and PL's names translate directly to bone and skin in English, so I ain't the only one using very literal naming here. Plus, I've always thought the word klepto sounded pretty, so yeah. So Klepto is, well, a kleptomaniac. She was born and raised in Witchtown, but got banished because of shenaniganery. So she moved out of the hidden city and onto the surface. She uses a cloaking brooch to disguise herself when she's on the surface. I didn't have time to draw her human disguise form, so just imagine Mango Riseified. Kid in a cat hoodie. Easy. She habitually goes through both the hidden city and New York, stealing things from passerby. She'll then sell the human trinkets to the yokai and the yokai junk to the humans. She uses the money she makes off of this to rent an apartment in a human-run building. Why can't she just live in Big Mama's hotel? Well, she once stole an expensive vase from Big Mama and isn't on very good terms with her. Oh, also, fun fact, she's friends with the landlord's daughter, Erin. Erin is my cousin's self-insert persona. Yes, that cousin. I've successfully dragged her into the fandom. In your face, Lynn, I was right. I reckon that if Klepto were actually in the show, she'd appear somewhere in the middle of season 1. She'd be doing her rounds, going through New York, stealing from people, and the boys would be patrolling the city looking for mystic metal. And then Donnie would spot the mystic aura coming off of her brooch. Raph would go, let's leave her alone. She's not hurting anybody. Oh look, she just stole that guy's wallet. She what? And then there's a chase scene, they corner her and Leo goes, halt, cat burglar, we're putting your operation to a pause. So his brothers groan like usual, but Klepto starts laughing at the top of her lungs. Because I really love puns and I genuinely find Leo's jokes funny. And the guys react to this because literally no one has ever laughed at Leo's jokes besides himself. She laughed at Leo's joke. She laughed at Leo's joke. She laughed at my joke! Anyways, more ensuing shenanigans. They find out she's been hired by the Foot to steal the mystic metal, yada yada. Leo keeps asking if they can keep her. Raph says, no Leo, you cannot adopt her just because she likes her jokes, yada yada. It's a whole thing. So yeah, there's a rough idea of her backstory. After her dedicated episode, I don't think she'd appear much. She'd probably pop in every once in a while like Hueso or Todd. By the way, Donnie really doesn't like her. When they captured her and interrogated her about the Foot Clan, Leo said they should untie her. She then stole from them 10 times. 7 of those times she stole from Donnie. Well, I mean, Donnie's the one that owns all the cool stuff. It makes sense. I don't have anything against Donnie in real life. He's my second favorite turtle and I think he's fun to watch. But conflict is also fun to watch, so I'm making him and Klepto frenemies. Well, less friends and more enemies. Raph is mistrustful of her, but he doesn't dislike her as much as Donnie does. Mikey's pretty chill with her. He thinks she's nice and she deserves a chance to become good. He was also the one who interrogated her and got her to break and talk about the Foot Clan. Dr. Delicatouch does it again. Now, as for Klepto's relationship with Leo, well, if you've seen my review of the movie, you'll know Leo's my favorite. Plus, I'm a Ben Schwartz fan, so that boosts him up quite a bit. Since she was the first person to laugh at his jokes, Leo was fond of Klepto right off the bat. And since Leo's the nicest to her out of all the turtles, Klepto trusts him the most. Plus, she thinks he's funny. Leo is the main reason Klepto goes from chaotic neutral to chaotic good. He got her a job at Hueso's restaurant so she didn't have to steal to make money anymore. Leo also helped Dr. Feelings, aka Mikey, give Klepto therapy to treat her kleptomania. So yeah, out of all the turtles, Klepto is closest with Leo. Yeah, okay, time's up for lore. If you guys are curious about her backstory and whatnot or have any headcanons or ideas, go ahead and talk about it in the comments. I'd be happy to read them. I love long comments. Just, add paragraph breaks, please. So I believe our young heroine, aka Past Me, has finally given up on mimicking the style exactly and has settled on doing a good enough sketch. Aka, I half-assed it because I was too lazy. So we shall now move on to Phase 4, Final Render and Ref Sheet. So I had the sketch done at this point, finally. So all I needed to do left was ink it, figure out the color palette, and then stuff it all into a ref sheet. For those curious, I use the Jasinki ink brush under the inking category in Procreate. The line art in Rise is relatively thin, so I use it in a really small size. I learned a ton of art knowledge while I was studying the Rise style. I learned more about anatomy, about overlap, design principles, all sorts of good stuff. I wanted to mimic the Rise art style exactly, so I was looking up 10 art style challenge videos to try and find tips on copying art styles, and literally only a single channel gave me any tips on style mimicry. Thank you, Nadia Axel, your videos were very helpful. Damn, this whole experience has made me want to do the 10 art style challenge again, just because I'm salty about people not giving tips. Do you want to see that? A 10 art style video with tips telling you how to copy a style? Let me know, I'd be happy to do it. Anyway, so I did a front and back view of Klepto. This is actually the first time I've seriously drawn someone from the back in digital. The first time I did it was in this video where I turned around to shoot someone, and of course it was for a sloppy joke, so I didn't take the drawing too seriously. So I'm quite surprised, but glad that the back view turned out alright. I had a bit of trouble during coloring. I wanted Klepto to be a pinkish hue because why not? I thought it'd look neat, but it made her look like an axolotl, and that was not what I wanted, so I scrapped it and made her dark magenta instead. It's actually technically still pink, whatever. To help with picking the color palette, I slapped her on top of a screenshot from the show so I could pick colors that would contrast with the BG and she would pop, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that she actually looked right. I mean, her pose and the fact she's a high definition image makes her look weird, but I meant that the art style and the colors, they looked right beside the other characters. The only thing making her look out of place was her pose, and that was such an encouraging sight to see. It told me I was doing things right, and it was really rewarding considering the fact I had struggled so hard with her design. It honestly made my day seeing her fit in. So I finalized her color palette, added in her clothing, and then I made a turnaround ref sheet including her base, and then I made a character profile including an image of her cloaking brooch. Also, can we get a hip hip hooray for my graphic design? It's not the best, but it's not terrible either. Eesh, I'm usually terrible at graphic design. Glad it turned out alright this time. So there she is, my Rise self-insert persona, Klepto Aladrona. I had so much else planned for this video. I was gonna do a profile view for her turnaround as well. I was gonna draw her into screenshots from the show to see how well she fit in, but I was running out of time and I wanted this video to come out within 2 weeks of my review, so I compromised all the other stuff. off. Also, I compromised the quality of the art. Her hand and feet aren't looking too good. How would you guys have inserted yourself into Rise? If you make your own Risesona, tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to see. That'd be all. I'm gonna go and start making my next video. Bye.